In May 2009, the executive director of the Delaware River Basin Commission issued a determination that that gas drilling, the way it's proposed, would have a substantial adverse impact on the water resources of the Delaware River Basin, and therefore put in place a moratorium saying that gas drilling could not move forward until the DRBC had passed regulations that would govern when, if, how drilling would move forward. These regulations that are being voted on November 21 at the Trenton War Memorial are the act that could lift the moratorium. So
November 21st is the day that the Delaware River Basin Commission votes on proposed rules that have been out for public comment. These rules will determine whether or not we're going to have water supply for 15 million people, what is really a very important decision because it's going to determine the future of this.
Are we going to trade the water, the air, the food, the health of thousands of communities and millions of people in order to smash gas from ancient rocks and to buy into the false promises of the gas drilling industry? We obviously believe the answer is no, but that's what's going to be decided on November 21 by the DRBC.
Fracking in this watershed will threaten everything that this watershed provides for our communities and our
one issue. My name is He Who Walks Gently in the Moonlight, also known as Gentle Moon. We have lived here in the Delaware River Basin as a people for thousands of years. We have been through a process of removal. We have been through a process of assimilation. We have been through a process of basically genocide. We've been through wars. We've been through plagues. We've been decimated by many different things. The one thing that holds true to our people, no matter where we are, no matter what happened, the river has always been the key to our society, the key to our ceremonial grounds, the key to the flow that is our life. So many different things will be affected. Not just us, not just two-leggeds. You're talking about every people. When we say people, we consider everybody, including four-leggeds, wingeds, fish people, creepy crawlers, plants, trees, everything. Everything's affected.
There's billions of gallons of water potentially in the Delaware River Basin and hundreds of thousands of acres of forest.
You can't keep ripping into the earth. You can't keep drilling and punishing the earth and not expect repercussions for people, for all people.
The process of hydraulic fracturing is one of the many extreme energy tactics where all of the easily accessible fossil fuels have already been accessed. Now we need to drill deeper and essentially use more highly extractive techniques to get at fossil fuel energy. So we all know that the science behind global warming is real. Those of us here in New Jersey experience firsthand what increased storms will look and do to our region. And we truly believe that fracking is just another example of extreme energy that we should not tap into. In fact, the leading scientist in the country, James Hansen, basically states that if we start tapping into extreme energy, tar sands oil, fracking, it's essentially game over for the climate. So we need to be moving away from these dinosaur fuels and onto renewable energy, which will promote jobs for our generation.
I have to defend my future, okay? Chris Christie and the legislators and the people here even probably aren't going to have to deal with the impacts that people have been talking about as long as I will.
When we make a decision, we always think of our children. We think of their children and their grandchildren. We have to impress upon the people that are in charge now not to think of power, not to think of greed, not to think of the instant money. This is not an alternative energy source. It's no more alternative to any other fossil fuel.
The important thing to know is that the public is not just lukewarm about gas drilling. The public is outraged about gas drilling, and they're outraged that Governor Christie would consider drilling in the Delaware.
What do we know about these regulations?
Quite honestly, this is an early Christmas present to the gas industry.
They legalized the millions of gallons of water withdrawals that have to be taken in order to frack a well. They legalized the introduction of hundreds of pounds of toxic chemicals into the water in order to engage in the fracking process. They legalize the land disturbance that's necessary to build the well pads in order to drill the wells. They legalize the disposal of wastewater that can be highly toxic, including radioactive, from the fracking process within the basin and without of the basin. They legalize the taking of water from our basin and transferring it to another basin in order to introduce gas drilling somewhere else, which is another way of removing water from our basin. They legalize the entire process, and the requirements that they put on the process are so light when it comes to the practice of fracking and drilling and the land disturbance associated with it, that they are not protective, that they ensure that we will lose massive volumes of water from our Delaware River Basin, water that we need to drink and support our ecosystems and our communities, and that it will result in the introduction of tremendous volumes of toxic contaminants underground, above ground, and in the air and on the soils, in our rivers, in our aquifers. So it doesn't protect us, it ensures that we're going to get hurt. And it really is upon Governor Christie and the other governors of our region and the President to reject the regulations that the DRBC is considering, to reject the concept of natural gas drilling in the Delaware River Watershed. Any other path is a conscious choice of doom to our communities and to our children, dooming them to unhealthy water, dirty air, damaged health, and a severely degraded future.
Think of your grandchildren's grandchildren that stand here 200 years from now. And at this moment in time, think of the 7 generations yet to come.
Christie is one of the swing votes. We believe that he has to vote for the people of New Jersey's interest, not the interest of, not for the interest of the big oil and gas companies. This is about jobs in New Jersey in the region doing renewable energy versus shipping our money down to Houston.
The information we have that there's really no logical step that can be taken besides to enact the ban on fracking.
People are tired of being set aside as unimportant and unempowered. When it comes down to it, the DRBC commissioners on November 21 at the Trenton War Memorial are going to decide whether or not to open up the Delaware River Basin to gas drilling. People are coming from all over the region, in fact all over the country, to stand with us against gas drilling, to legally exercise our First Amendment rights, to speak out against gas drilling in the Delaware River Basin, to speak against the commissioners legalizing this affront to our river and to our communities, and to demand that they don't drill the Delaware.